Okay, so now on to the next example here, where now we're given a function, and what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the inherent restrictions of this function. So that's going to be kind of going back to like the implied domain that we have, and then how that's going to affect the range of our new function. But also we need to make sure we're now going to be applying some restrictions that are going to make sense for our inverse functions. So either way, let's kind of like first of all, look at, how visually this graph is going to, make sense if we were to, find the inverse. So first of all, we have a radical function, or square root of x plus 2. And we know that the square root is, has an implied domain for all values that are going to be greater than -2. And we can look at this. You can see that's a horizontal shift 2 units to the left. So let's just go and like sketch this. So 2 units to the left, and that's going to look something like this. Now, if I was to reflect this about the y equals x line, you can see here that my graph would look something like this. Down 2. Right? It'd look, something like that. All right, but now let's do our algebraic operations to be able to identify what the inverse would be. So, we replace this with y, we swap the x and the y, so we have x equals the square root of y plus 2. All right, now to get rid of the square root, we are going to square both sides. So we'll go and square both sides, and therefore I forgot to square both sides. So now I'm going to have x squared equals y plus 2. And now I can just subtract the 2 onto the other side, and therefore I'd have f inverse of x is equal to x squared plus 2. Well, that's a problem, because for x squared plus 2, we know that that graph looks something like this, right? And that's to be minus 2. Good catch. So that's why you show your work, right? So I was supposed to subtract the 2 on both sides, which I was like, oh, I'll just skip this. But when you skip it, then you make mistakes. So it's x squared minus 2, so therefore my graph is completely wrong, which was easy to catch because thankfully I did that work ahead of time for this. So that's down there. That's a horrible parabola. But either way, we have f inverse of x equals x squared minus 2, right? And that graph looks like this. But that's not the same thing as my inverse graph, right? So what we need to understand here is this, for this inverse, this function is not the inverse of that function, right? This function here is that. That is not the inverse of that function. That function is like that. So we got to restrict this over here. Well, you can see that this value is true for all values that are greater than 0. So all I need to do is just add a domain restriction saying x has to be greater than or equal to 0, right? And in Desmos, I give you what these graphs are, so therefore you can kind of look at that and verify. I didn't pull up, though, the domain restrictions, but I can. We can go ahead and take a look at that. I'll pull it up for probably these two because these graphs are kind of similar, but these two are a little bit more confusing. So we'll go and hit Desmos after this. All right, so let's do the next one. Again, now this one looks a little bit confusing, right? Because, if we look at this as far as the transformations, there's a lot going on. I could definitely rewrite this, though, in a little bit easier format. I could factor out the negative, and therefore I'm left with an x plus 1. All right, so what that tells me is I have a vertical vertical compression of 1/2. I have a reflection about the x-axis. I have a reflection about the y-axis, and I have a horizontal shift 1 unit to the left. So I can sketch this because I did the previous example here on. I did the previous example in our class for transformations. So let's see, we're going to be shifting about the x-axis, we're shifting about the y-axis, and we're going to be shifting it 1 unit to the left. So I am going to bet this graph is going to look something like that. Now, again, I will verify all of this stuff here on Desmos so you can go through it, but that's something you should be familiar with on our unit from transformations of functions. All right, now let's get into the algebraic technique, though, of finding the inverse. So, replace it with y, swap the x and the y's. So, therefore, we're left with x equals negative 1/2 square root of negative y. And I'm probably going to forget that. Negative y minus 1. Okay, so now there's a lot going on here. before I undo the radical, like here, I kind of like immediately went into squaring, but I don't want to square both sides yet. I want to get rid of this multiplication of negative 1/2. So again, to do that, what I'm going to do is just multiply by the reciprocal, which would be a negative 2. So I multiply by a reciprocal of negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 1/2, those just multiply to 1. So I'm going to put lines into them, not saying that they cancel out, but saying they multiply to 1. Now I have negative 2x is equal to the square root of negative y minus 1. Now my radical is isolated like the other problem, so now I can go ahead and square both sides. When I go ahead and square both sides, I get 4x squared is equal to a negative y minus 1. Now I can go ahead and use my inverse operations by adding a 1 to both sides, and this one kind of takes up a little bit of space, so I don't want to. 4x squared equals negative y, and then divide by negative 1. Make sure you divide that negative 1 into both of the terms. So my final answer is 5 inverse of x equals negative 4. Did I write those down so I can go back to these when I go into Desmos? Sorry, I'm just checking. Okay, yeah, I did. Sweet. So negative 4x squared minus 1. Now, if we look at this graph, we'd say, oh, I know what that graph is. That's another quadratic. My a is now being shifted, or is being reflected about the x-axis, and it's being shifted down 1 unit. So if I was to graph that, going down 1 unit, that graph's going to look something like that. But again, if we look at this, if we want this to be a reflection about the y equals x line, we don't need this whole quadratic. Or furthermore, it's not even so much we need. This whole quadratic is not the inverse of this function. We only need a portion of it. So which portion? The negative portion or the odd portion? And again, we can see that the only portion that's going to be symmetric is the negative portion. So therefore, we'll just make sure we have a dot there to end it. Okay, so therefore now we need to add a domain restriction saying that x has to be less than or equal to 0. Okay. All right, last but not least, and then we'll go on to Desmos and go and take a look at these graphs. Now, I have no idea what this graph looks like, so unfortunately, like these other two, that was awesome. I was able to, use some understanding. That's why like that transformation unit was helpful. You don't have to be reliant on graphing technology. Now, this one, I will say, graphing technology is going to play a part because I don't know what this graph looks like. So first thing first, let's go ahead and algebraically identify what is. Now, I can tell you, though, there actually is a couple different things. Sorry about that. There are a couple things I do understand. The domain of this is, remember, the restriction on this domain is going to be, the restriction on this domain is going to be x has to be greater than 1. Right? So that is my restricted, that is like the implied domain that's going to come in. So that means the range of my new function is going to be x has to be greater than 1. But besides that, I don't really know anything else. So we go and swap y, place out the y, and then we swap these. So x equals 1 over the square root of y minus 1. Now again, this brings into that another point. We have the variable that we're trying to solve for in the denominator, so now we need to multiply it on both sides to get it off the denominator. I'm really glad we're doing so many of these examples because this is one of those things that gets my students a lot, and I think part of the reason is we just we'll cover an example once and then we don't really like cover them again for a little while, so they forget it. So those go ahead and divide out to 1. So therefore we're left with square root of y minus 1. I don't like how I wrote that. Now we could put the x in front if you want to, instead of behind it. Therefore, you don't need to use parentheses. You don't need to show parentheses over 1. Now again, we need to solve for y. So therefore, I am going to divide by x. Okay. Let's see here. So therefore, I have square root of y minus 1. Is equal to 1 over x. Now I need to square both sides to get rid of the square root. All right, and then I have y minus 1 equals 1 over x squared is 1 squared over x squared, which is really just 1 over x squared. And then add the 1. So my final answer is f inverse of x, or my inverse function, is 1 over x squared plus 1. Now the problem is, I know the range is restricted from 1, greater than infinity, but again, I still don't know, is that the exact feature of that function? So that's how we're going to go ahead and play into Desmos here. And okay, I got all my inverse functions. So what I'm going to do is I am going to show my functions in here, and then also graph the inverse. So therefore, you can see how they work. Okay, and this is something again you can do, on your own. So for this first example, my inverse function, I'm not going to use inverse notation. I'm just going to use f of x, was x squared minus 2. Okay, and let's include the y equals x line. All right, so you can obviously see that we do not need to include this version of the graph. So in Desmos, I just use my restriction, x has to be less than or equal to 0. Oops, x has to be greater than or equal to 0. I was including the part that I didn't want. So there you go, perfect, right? And that was the restriction that we found. All right, let's move on to the next example. The answer that I found was negative 4x squared minus 1. So let's just do y equals negative 4x. So negative 4x squared minus 1 in my original function. Okay, so you can see here again, I do not want to include the values that are positive. So I'm only going to include x values that are less than or equal to 0. And you can see now how that restriction that we apply gives us the correct inverse function. And then last but not least, this crazy function looks like that. Okay, and then when I go ahead and find the inverse, I have 1 over x squared plus 1. Oh, I always do that. Plus 1. Now, you can see here that, again, we have some restrictions here that, x is going to be greater than 1. That's right. But you can see that my x values are all going to be positive. Like these values, I can't choose any values here in this case. Sorry about that. When I'm looking into my range, if I look at this implied domain, none of the values that I choose can be less than 1, right? So by using those implied domains for all values that you cannot choose less than 1, that means I can't choose values in here that are going to be less than 1 as well. So therefore, that's why I need to add my restriction here for x, which is greater than or equal to 1. Oops, sorry, 0. There's my point in 0. Oh, and it can't equal 0, obviously. Yeah, it can't equal, greater than 0. There you go. And so you can see how the restriction, how when identifying the inverse is not always going to be able to show you that inverse. So therefore, it's helpful to kind of understand what the graph looks like or to be able to graph them. So therefore, you can kind of see the difference. All right. So that's what we're going to be taking on when we have a function, but we're going to be taking the inherited, basically the inherited restrictions of that. And there's actually one thing I thought I looked at. Hold on, let me go back to this real quick. Yeah. That was it. That was the other portion that I wanted, because I don't think I mentioned this, that I wanted to clearly state. So when we're looking at, this function, right? So when you're looking at the square root of x plus 2, notice that the y values here are all going to be, positive, right? And remember, the range is like the y values. So if the range is all positive, that means the domain of my inverse function can only be positive values as well. That's why the graph right here is only for the positive versions. That's why we eliminated the negative versions. In the same respect, let's look at the exact example. Yeah, I forgot to cover this. So in this example, whenever I plug in a number into this radical, it's only for negative numbers less than -1. And for all negative values less than -1, I keep on getting negative values, right? So that means the range of my function is negative. If the range of my function is negative, that means the domain of my inverse function is negative. That's why I had to erase the positive values here. And if you look at this in the exact same thing for the last equation here, it kind of goes into that same respect that the range of my green graph, which is my original function, is all positive. So therefore the domain, the range is all positive. That means the domain of my inverse function is also going to be, positive values. So again, it goes back into that relationship of your positive as well as your negative values for a function and an inverse function, which is very important. Now, you've kind of noticed throughout this whole lesson that we have, spent a little time. I mean, hopefully this should be something rather quick for you to be able to understand as far as the functions. But you see that we've done a lot of work, right? So the last thing we're going to do is just proving two functions are inverses of each other, and by not following the same process that we've been going. So that'll be going over in example 6.